Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Boys Unknown. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit of Halo stuff. First things first, we'll get this out of the way. The campaign is absolutely tons of fun, and we're loving it. And we're loving it.
It is tons of fun. It's a blast. I found it's a little bit repetitive. We're going to have a full review on the whole thing, but it is definitely just, it's classic Halo. It feels like Halo. It looks like Halo. It sounds like Halo. I'm really
smells like
myself.
Halo. It's Halo.
Yeah.
And goddamn it,
tastes like Halo.
Is the grapple hook fun? Oh my god.
Yeah, the abilities, leveling them up, the whole thing. We're gonna have an in-depth review about it, but we just want to let you know we're having a blast in campaign right now. It is really good.
As we know, like December 8 was the full launch of the game, which means that the so-called multiplayer beta transitioned into launch, and I'm gonna read the patch notes here from launch. Here, let me read the patch notes here. The patch notes say
there was a day one update, right?
Fucking nothing. Absolutely nothing, and not even a peep from anyone about any kind of changes that happened.
So as we were making this video, turns out they decided to give us a couple extra game modes, a couple extra playlists to play in multiplayer, which it is a good thing.
What game modes do we get?
But it also makes me think 343 is a bunch of fucking liars, because they told us they couldn't add Slayer for at least another month because it was so hard to do, and then all of a sudden 3 days later it's like, all right, here you go guys, here you go. It's like,
yeah, like 2 days later.
Wow, that's weird.
2 days later they flicked the old switcheroony that apparently boys,
weird.
it's not as hard as simply flipping a switch next 2 days. Okay, we figured it out. We flipped the switch, it worked. Slayer, Free for All, Fiesta, and Tactical Slayer, modes, aka SWAT, are coming Tuesday, December 14th. But our other points still stand in the video, because when the beta ended, absolutely nothing changed, which made you question the title of the beta, because absolutely was not a beta.
I mean, thank God they did this. I think they need to do this to save the game.
They needed to do this yesterday.
If they did not do this, would have died. Yeah. Still way more needs to come.
This is just like an absolute smidgen.
And now they've shown how easy it is.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse to hold back on anything else now, because you just gave us 4 game modes in apparently a week, even though you said it would take months.
Yeah,
so
months.
I got big expectations now.
Even with these game modes, this is the most bare bones launch, hands down, that we've had for a Halo game. Never forget. Yeah. Also, I mean, like the list of things we don't have, and the list of things that need to be fixed, that like almost trump. These things trumps new game modes almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is a big problem,
because it's been bad lately.
Something else they mentioned, apparently they're bringing like a challenge that's more performance based, so it's kind of like the first steps to performance based XP for progression, even though there's no progression system outside of the battle pass, so it doesn't does it matter? I don't know. I guess it matters a little bit, but at the end of the day there's still no progression system. But yeah, there really is. There isn't a progression system, so this shouldn't even be like, it's not your first steps towards a better progression system. There's still no progression system. It's just battle pass XP. But at least whatever, these changes are good. These are good changes, and I'm happy they're coming, and it's going to make the game a lot more fun to play. In other news, the second post after that is Big Team Battle matchmaking has been broken for 2 days. So that's cool, too. And then the third post after that on Reddit is, hey, I figured out how to get only Slayer matches. You have to have a challenge that says play oddball matches, and the challenge that plays capture the flag matches, and this guy has played 30-plus games of Slayer. So that's interesting. That doesn't seem like it's completely rigged against the challenge system. Yeah, I don't know. It could be something funky going on there. Either this guy needs to win the lottery, or we're getting fucked. Anyways, Future Boy's out. There was a 2 GB update, but nothing changed from the so-called beta into the launch. Which means... But it was a beta. It wasn't a beta. But it was a beta. It wasn't a beta in any way. The fact that they even called it a beta, and then at this point in the full launch, absolutely nothing changes, is almost just insulting. It should be insulting. You should feel a little, insulted after that. Especially all these it's a beta people who, kept telling everybody, it's going to be a lot different at launch. There's going to be more maps. There's going to be more this. There's going to be changes. There's going to be Slayer. I mean, I think at this point you have to double down on it and just keep saying it's a beta. Yeah, you know what though? At this point they are right, because multiplayer might as well be a beta with the amount of content that it has. Yeah, exactly. It's horrible multiplayer launch, as we all knew. The multiplayer is fun, but there's nothing to play really. No. And the more I play it, the more I realize how big of an issue desync is. I didn't realize this before, and now I'm like, oh my god, it's a real problem.
The desync is it's wild.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild, which is too bad. But hey, I even look at our multiplayer because I'm just lost in a campaign, which is good.
Exactly.
But I just want to make sure that people don't forget the absolute state of the multiplayer that this game launched with. Like, you got all these people that just bend over backwards to defend 3-for-3. Just realize the state of the multiplayer. It's rough. Anyways, but there was a Bloomberg article that kind of like peels back the layer of this game's development. It kind of explains a whole lot of, you know, the state of the multiplayer.
I still don't think it explains the full thing, but at least we have a bit of an idea. I mean, it kind of tells us what
we have an insight.
Already knew a little bit, but, you know, it's nice to kind of hear it confirmed a bit.
But anyways, this Bloomberg article basically outlines the fact that the development of this campaign was an absolute shit show. So first thing first, planning for Halo Infinite began right after Halo 5 in 2015, which...
Yeah, there wasn't a 2-year break.
Yeah, contrary to what they said, which was a 2-year break to build this engine and all that stuff, whatever. So the goal of the game was to make an open world Halo, kind of like the Breath of the Wild, Zelda the Breath of the Wild.
And this makes sense that it's not a completely new engine, because there's literally bits of code in the engine. I think General Heed has a video on it.
Yeah.
Where you can see bits of code that are like left over from like Halo 2 and shit. Like,
yeah, it's the old Faber engine.
Yeah. Updated a bit.
They literally call it an absolute shit show of an engine, though, because there's so much. Because the code is just stacked on top of each other. I don't know anything about programming, but basically the programmers called the engine a kind of a shit show.
Yeah, it's such a classic Halo that it literally wanted to copy Halo 2 with its shitty engine duct taped together, that it was like, let's do the same thing again.
Yeah, it's the old Halo engine, which you know and love.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on here. So the staffing at 343 was very unstable.
It was a constant revolving door of people.
Yeah, they had a heavy reliance on contractors, which made up about half the staff at 343. Part of this reason that there was such a revolving door with contractors is that Microsoft restricts contractors from staying longer than 18 months. So you got guys in here, they're around there for like just over a year. They're finally, a year and a half. They're starting to figure out how the fucking crazy ass code works, and then you're out the door and someone else comes in.
Jesus.
Yeah, you could imagine that'd be a shit show.
Yeah.
So this basically caused like the creative direction of the game to be, in flux until very late in the dev cycle, unusually late. And this basically created kind of like how the Banish jockeys for power. The article describes like 343 as a company split into different teams jockeying for control of resources, making conflicting decisions. So basically
it was a goddamn shit show.
It was a f***ing shit show. And you can kind of see that in the multiplayer, how like some things seem to not make sense. Like AIs have cross-core compatibility, but you, the player, can't have cross-core compatibility, and so many customization options, but not actually a lot of customization for them. Like, you can kind of start to see why this.
Yeah, this game is like 4 different Halo games slapped together.
Yeah,
and then they just made it into one Halo game. And thank God that we got such a good gameplay loop. Like, that's actually...
Yeah, that's honestly shocking.
It's impressive that we got that out of the shit show of development that this was.
Yeah, as you said, like, multiple games being developed at once, that's how a developer described the process. Okay, so now coming around to summer 2019, the game was in absolute crisis mode, and this is where they decided to cut almost 2 out of 3 of the entire planned game. Now, I don't know if this is, multiplayer campaign or just campaign or whatever, or like sandbox stuff, but it's just absolutely crazy when you consider that how big the multiplayer is.
That is
and
insane.
How actually fun and how it all works is actually amazing.
I mean, God, the campaign, there is a bunch here, so like,
yeah, it's
the fact that
2/3
is apparently missing, that's quite insane.
It is wild. So basically they're realizing that a fall launch would be impossible, but Microsoft said that it had to launch with its new console November 2020. Okay?
Surprise, surprise.
So, and then the old demo came out, which, created the Craig meme, and everyone was like, God, this game looks like shit. So that was basically like the straw that broke the camel's back and made Microsoft consider, okay, fine, we'll delay the game, which is a good call, because good God, the game we would have gotten would literally been like freaking Roblox Halo.
I like how Microsoft was like, we want to release the Halo with the new consoles that nobody can get.
Yeah, I like how Master Chief was still on all the consoles, but like you couldn't play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
But that just goes to show how last minute decision it was. Like, they've already started printing shit.
Yeah.
So that's what basically changed the game after everyone roasted it, and Microsoft Penis decided to delay the game. And that is when almighty Joseph Staten comes in at the 11th hour with his horn in his hands and just went to work and said, you know what, boys? He came in, it's like, this is the list of shit that we need to make this game good. Like, let's go. And, you know, he started making shit happen. And so the article basically describes him as absolute hero, like as Master Chief coming onto Zeta Halo and saving all the Marines. And he even, dude, take in, like, the game originally, like, when he got in and was f***ing around with it, the Marines would just stay where they were. Like, if you saved them, they wouldn't come with you. And he's like, no. The Marines need to follow Chief and, like, hop in the Warthog and, like, keep going with them. So, like, that's a cool thing that he added. Could you imagine if he didn't add that? Oh, my God. And that's a really cool part of the campaign. That's, like, the best part about saving them. Like, they literally follow you around like kids after. They're like, yeah.
I just wonder, how real is this article and how real is it describing the situation? Cause
maybe it was written by Joseph Staten.
Yeah, Joe Staten wrote the article.
Joe Staten wrote the article.
You're telling me one guy single-handedly delayed the game, fixed a bunch of, like, made sure that a bunch of issues were... I mean, maybe he did, but...
That's how the article reads. It reads that Joe Staten is Jesus.
he's hyped up to be like a god.
No, but they did slide him in last minute.
No, for sure. Like, it's...
Because he was higher up in Microsoft.
It's entirely possible, as Rogan would say.
It's entirely possible.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting part. So now basically where we are now takes us to, like, the present time, and the article admits that the game isn't finished, but they do have a caveat that's like a lot of modern games, the game still needs some work, and you know, so they do kind of like do that shit cover for him there. But the article does not mention the state of multiplayer in any way.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. Which I think is, you know, sugarcoating it at the very least.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some insight, if you haven't read the article, if you don't like reading, if you can't read, there's some insight from two complete clowns. Ultimately, it was a shit show.
Ultimately, what it comes down to is just terrible management and... You know, Microsoft and whoever the top people are at 343. I don't know who the guys calling the shots are, but it's just terrible management.
It was a shit show.
I don't know why they're number one.
Microsoft's baby, yeah.
The thing that made the Xbox. I don't know why it's given this level of management and this treatment of just like... I feel like Halo every time is in a shit show of development. Has there been one game where it's like, development went really well this time? It went really well. Like, I haven't heard that one time.
I feel like that's just gaming nowadays.
I guess so. No, but even back to Halo 1.
Yeah, true.
Or Halo 2, you know, like, it's just throughout Halo's entire history, the development is always hell. It's like, they're just cursed.
Maybe it's because they keep trying to use the Faber engine and they just keep stacking on like shit and it's so mangled.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, you'd think at this point, like back in the day, you know, it's a small team and shit like that. But now it's, you got Microsoft.
Yeah.
And they pretty much are 343. Like, why is this not? Sure. Why is this still an issue?
I think it speaks to like a greater issue in game development. If you just look at other studios that like have constant scandals and shit, like I don't know, game development from someone who's, you know, outside looking in, it looks like a fucking WoW place. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
But kudos to the people at 343. We roast them a lot, but the fact that through all this they got the campaign to work the way it does is actually kind of impressive.
Yeah.
This is 343's best campaign, hands down.
And that's a way to work. Thank you to all the little guys, you know, working on this. Not the big guys who said monetize the shit out of this and literally the consumers.
Yeah, I don't know where that came in, but
destroy their wallets, take out the game modes, the people playing this game. Not those guys, but the little guy, you know, who grinded his ass off or her ass off to get this campaign to us or get the gameplay loop to us, and, you know, way to work to those guys.
Yeah, they did a good job with campaign, and we have that until the multiplayer gets a smidgen more of content. All right, boys. So that's a little bit of our thoughts on Infinite campaign, a thought of the beta multiplayer, and a little insight from an article that we actually read, because surprisingly enough, we can read. Like and subscribe. Good night.
Bye.